Good morning, Becky.
Good morning, Bonnie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm springy today.
Me too. Sun's shining and it's a nice day and I'm ready for spring.
Yep, I think we're all ready for that sunshine and daffodils and
I think
all
it
the
just
wonderful.
makes everyone feel better and happier. And the daffodils, I can take them in the house and my grandkids can put colored water in them and watch them soak up the color.
Yeah, that's always fun for the kids, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
What are we having today? I see cheese.
We are, cheese and me are good friends.
Yeah, me too.
We're actually, I was sort of looking through my new books, my magazines that come, my cooking magazines, to find some idea for today. And I couldn't find any recipes in the books that really got me excited. And I turned to the back page and there was an advertisement for Southern cooking. And the recipe was homemade pimento cheese spread. And I'm like, oh, yum.
Yeah.
So that's what
spoke
today.
to you, huh? That was what spoke to you.
That's what spoke to me. So we're doing homemade pimento cheese spread today. It's good on a cracker. It's good. You can spread it in a piece of celery. You can actually stuff like jalapeno poppers and stuff your jalapeno pepper and wrap it in bacon and bake them. There's several ways you can eat this. You can just eat it on a piece of bread. I think the best bread is just that. Remember the old white Wonder bread?
Oh yeah, just plain old bread, regular bread.
Yeah, I don't think they even make that anymore, but just a white bread. But I do have a low calorie bread today. Also, you could put it on the cloud bread that we had talked about several shows ago, that has no carbs in it, very low carb.
Okay. So this is going to be a keto today?
Yes.
A keto cheese?
Yes. There's nothing in here that's not keto. So just so you know, you can eat it on that celery and don't have any guilt, no guilt at all. Now, I talked to one of my friends the other day, and she was saying that a lot of what I cook looks very fattening. And I told her that we weren't watching our fat, we were watching our carbs. So if you need to watch your fat, yes, you want to cut this down. You want to use cream cheese that's low fat and things like that. But we're actually just watching our carbs, not our fat.
So that's a good thing to know, because that people might question that. So that's a good thing to know.
Yeah. So funny. I was thinking, back in the 60s and 70s, I think everybody, maybe even the 50s, because I have an old cookbook and it tells you how to count your calories. That was big thing back then, was count your calories. I think everybody starved to death on cottage cheese and eggs. But anyway, and then I think in the 80s and 90s, maybe even in the early 2000s, it was all about fat. They took all the fat out of everything. Yep. And then now, of course, they know that if you watch your carbs, it helps bring your blood sugar down. It does help you lose a little weight, makes you a little healthier. Joints don't hurt so bad and things like that.
Yep, it's always something new. It's something different, but I agree with you. The low carb is usually healthier. Yeah. And I mean, I remember way back there was Richard Simmons' Deal-A-Meal or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I think you still have a Richard Simmons DVD at the Belfry Center. It's fun to work out with him once in a while.
Oh, I may have to pull that out for our next year exercise class.
It's a tough one. I'm telling you, Richard Simmons was a tough fella. Okay, so today, of course, homemade pimento cheese is cheese. But let me tell you what I've got here. I'm going to use my KitchenAid mixer back here. So I've got my mixer bowl. And inside I have a block of cream cheese. It's an 8-ounce block of cream cheese. So I already have that in there and I have it softened. Okay, to this, you just add everything in together. So to this, I'm going to add a jar of drained diced pimentos. This is 4 ounces. It's been drained, so I'm going to go ahead and dump that in. Because that's what makes it pimento, right?
Yeah, or else it would just be cheese.
That's just be cheese. I actually got a block of cheddar. This is sharp cheddar cheese. I actually
Sharp cheddar.
Yeah, I actually bought a block, and I took it in my food processor and I shredded it up.
Wow,
made
you went the
bread
whole
cheese.
extra. You went the whole extra step, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit about that. When you buy the packages, they put stuff in it to keep it from clumping up. So a lot of things, if you use this in it, it'll work. I just don't think it makes it taste as good. So that's why I actually did this myself. You can still use the packages in this. It's not a problem. It's just a little different texture to it. So
Okay.
let me go ahead and dump. This is a 16-ounce block of cheddar cheese. So let me dump that.
So how many cups is that? Maybe
Probably
like
about
4?
Yeah, about 4 cups, because I think the bagged cheese, let me look, but I think it's, yeah, I think it's 4 cups. But I got the block, so.
That looks like a lot of cheese.
It does, doesn't it? So there's our cheddar cheese. Now, my husband came out and seen that block of cheese and said, "Oh, I want a piece." So I gave him a little hunk of cheese out of my 16-ounce block. I could keep him out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some Monterey Jack cheese to make up for that little block he took. If you want to spice this up a little, you could always do, the jalapeno cheese, pepper jack cheese. You could do whatever you wanted, but I'm going to put a little Monterey Jack in there, just enough to make up for his.
Now, does the recipe call for that, or is that just something else you're throwing in there?
The recipe that I think I sent you, Bonnie, does not call for the extra cheese.
Okay.
But it's not a problem. You can add whatever cheese you want in there.
You can make it your own.
Right, make it your own. So I just made it my own.
Okay.
Okay, to this, we've got our diced pimentos and our cheese. I'm going to add a half a cup of mayonnaise. Now this is Miracle Whip mayonnaise. It's not, or this is Hellman's mayonnaise, not Miracle Whip.
Good.
Miracle Whip would change the taste just a little, but if that's what you prefer, that's what you can add. You could probably even substitute sour cream for this. I thought about that, but I thought I'd go ahead and make it according to what the recipe said.
I'm glad you used mayo instead of Miracle Whip.
Yeah, something
that would be my choice.
Yeah, Miracle Whip has that little zip that I don't think it needs. Sweet. Yeah. Now the recipe I sent you, Bonnie, it has a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. So let's go ahead and put our garlic powder in. And of course, I think my husband will eat this anyway, but if you don't like garlic, I just won't tell him it's in there.
Yeah, don't tell him. Just don't tell him. He won't notice.
Now it called for a half a teaspoon of dried onion flakes. I didn't have any dried onion flakes, so I'm just going to put onion powder in it. It'll be close enough. You know how it is. You have whatever you have on hand, you put in there, don't you?
Exactly.
Okay.
Whatever are not expired.
Yeah. You want a little salt and pepper. So I'm putting 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt and pepper in. So what's your favorite way to eat pimento cheese?
I mostly bread on. We used to have really good pimento cheese sandwiches here for lunch sometimes, and they were always homemade, and they were always just regular bread, and it was just like something like when you were a kid or something. It was just a nice pimento.
I'm going to put this in my KitchenAid stand mixer and let it. You just want to mix it up. So you want all the ingredients in your bowl, and with the mixer, I'm going to put it on low to combine and then high for a minute. So let me put this on my stand mixer, and we'll mix that up. Oh man.
Don't you love that mixer? It's just so fun.
We'll let it do its thing. Yeah, it smells wonderful. I'm gonna cut that minute short.
Okay.
Okay, it's good. It's good. Probably the longer you let it mix, the cheese will get a little more. But look at that.
Ooh.
Just
Okay,
a
there's
second.
lunch.
Oh my goodness.
Is it
Yummy,
good?
yummy, yummy.
It
Yes.
looks good.
Well, I'm glad I decided to do that. That is yummy. Okay, let's move on.
Don't eat it all.
If I can. Okay, along with this, I'm going to do stuffed pepper soup. Have you ever had the stuffed pepper soup, Bonnie?
I believe you even made it for us one time for cooking club, and I love stuffed pepper soup. I mean, if it's the one I'm thinking with rice and all of that good stuff in it, yes, I love pepper soup.
Okay, well, I made one ahead, and the one I made ahead, I actually put rice in it.
Okay.
This one is going to actually be half a recipe, and I'm going to add the frozen cauliflower rice. And that'll make it completely keto, because the regular rice is not on a keto diet. But this cauliflower rice, I actually bought it in the frozen section. So I'll be adding this instead of rice, the cauliflower.
Okay, I've never tried that before. Have you?
Yeah.
The cauliflower rice?
I haven't in this recipe, but it ought to be really good. I can't imagine it not being really good in there. So, just like the stuffed pepper, I ground my ground beef and I drained it. So I've got I have 2 pounds of ground beef. It's browned and drained. Now, if you've got this on the stove, you want this all cooking together, but I'm going to throw it all in together and cook it later.
Okay.
So to this, I'm going to add 1 small onion. So I've already got my onion chopped. So I'm going to add my onion. And then to that, I have 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. Now I'm going to mince my garlic. I've already got it peeled. So you'll be sauteing this all together, and the onions will be cooking with the meat. And then I've actually got 2 small cloves of garlic in here, would probably equal 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. So my little handy dandy tool, remember?
You just love to use that little tool, I know.
I do. So I'm going to mince my garlic, and all I do is twist it in here, and look at it, just becomes minced. I take a fork, I just wipe it off. I don't have to mess with chopping it and trying to mince it.
Do you always have garlic on hand, fresh garlic?
I do. Matter of fact, my husband and I keep tattling on him today. We went through Sam's Club the other day, and they got this bag of garlic like this big, fresh garlic. And he says, "You sure you don't need one of those?" I said, "Not today."
Yeah, but how long does that stay good?
Yes, that much garlic, you would really have to use up pretty quick, because I get 2 bulbs, and that's the little pieces are called the cloves. So I get 2 bulbs, and if it lasts a month, I'm lucky. Sometimes it doesn't even last that long.
Okay.
It just starts to sprout, and sometimes I'll just cut the little sprout off and use it anyway. Okay, so I have my garlic in here. I have my onions, so I'm cooking this all together. And when the onions would become soft and translucent, you want to add, let's see, I know, I need garlic. I need my salt in here too. I have a little bit of salt I want to put in. And so let me put a teaspoon of salt.
I noticed that is sea salt. Is there a difference?
There is a difference. Sea salt comes from the sea. So how they get sea salt is actually from the sea.
Right.
I was always in the understanding it was a little easier for your body to assimilate.
Okay.
I think it has a fresher salt taste. There's all kinds of salt out there. So if you want to go on a little salt tour, you can do all kinds of salt. Your regular rock salt or your Morton salt, it's mined from the ground. So there is a difference in the salt. You can taste, sometimes you can taste the difference. So I have to try that.
So is that your regular go-to? I mean, every day you just use it for everything? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yes, I use sea salt for everything. Yes, I do. Okay, so I'll cook these until the onions are done, and then I'm going to pour in my tomatoes. It calls for a 30-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and they're tricky these days. The cans aren't 30 ounces anymore; they're 28 ounces. So, of course, this is half a batch, so I'm just going to do half of a can. I think it's almost 15 ounces.
Well, I imagine you could probably get away with 28 versus 30. It's probably not going to be that much of a deal.
You could. It's just, it's just something they're doing to save money. They got to save money. Now, this one's for myself and my daughter. So I'm going to add a few extra tomatoes. And it's that, was it Rotel, the spicy chopped tomatoes with peppers. So we're going to make this one's a little bit spicier. So I'm going to add a can of that. Give it a little spice.
Nice.
Spice. And then I'll stir that all up. And I also put tomato sauce. It calls for a 30-ounce can of tomato sauce. Like I said, this is just half a batch. And they did the same thing with tomato sauce. The cans are, I think, 28. But instead, I'm just going to put 2 small cans because this is a half batch. So 2 small cans of tomato sauce. And of course, this is the stuffed pepper. They're all covered in that tomato sauce and everything when you cook stuffed peppers. Okay. And to this too, I'm going to add Worcestershire sauce. How do you pronounce that, Bonnie?
Worcestershire? I can't even say it. Worcestershire?
Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
You did better. Worcestershire.
So it takes a third of a cup. So I've got my half of my third of a cup there, whatever that is. So anyway, I'm going to add that in. And of course, the whole time this is simmering. This is cooking. I'm going to have to get me one of those little stove tops for here so that everyone can see. Okay, to this, I'm going to add 4 cups of chicken broth. Now, remember, I was talking about, when you buy the box of chicken broth, this is 4 cups. So you don't have to really measure it out. You just open it, pour it in. Okay, you want to bring all this to a simmer. And then you want to you want to add your green peppers. So this is simmering. We'll pretend like it's simmering.
That's going to be a really good pan of soup.
It is. It's going to be really good. So I've got my green peppers. It takes 3 medium-sized, coarsely chopped green peppers. Now I've coarsely chopped 1. And if you can see coarsely chopped, I just left them, pretty big. So I'm going to add my pepper. Once this comes to a simmer, I'm going to add my pepper. Now, that was just 1. So let me cut another half of 1. I got to find my knife. Just a second here. And remember, I told you that I'm just doing half batch here. But you would add 3 peppers. You would add 3 peppers. So let's go ahead and coarsely chop this one.
So you're not really worried about the size too much. You're just kind of chopping it up.
Yep. Trying to keep them pretty close to the same size so they cook about the same time. I put 3 bigger peppers in my other pot, and that's a lot of pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and add that half. You know what? I've got that other half. Who doesn't like a pepper, right?
Sure. Just throw it in there. I'm
just going to throw it in there. That's what makes it your own.
Exactly. And I love green pepper, so it can't hurt.
That's right. That's right. Okay. I'm going to throw that in too. Okay. Now I'm going to let this come to almost a boil, and then I'm going to let this cook. And it's going to cook, about 20 minutes. And it's when the peppers and stuff starts getting soft. And then when it's ready, I'm actually going to put my cauliflower rice in.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Here it is. Yeah. Now it calls for 1 cup of rice. So I'm probably going to only add 1 cup or 2 cups of rice is what it calls for. So I'm probably going to add just 2 cups of this rice. And I don't know how much is in here for service. It's more than 2 cups. And once it's all hot, then I'm gonna put my cauliflower in, and hopefully it'll look like rice. And I think it will. I think it'll be really good.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Let me put this pot on the stove and get it started. Now, you can put this in a crock pot. So Bonnie, it's something, if you want to try it, you could always put it in a crock pot.
Yeah, I love to have stuff in my crock pot because everything smells so good in your house for hours.
It does. And then here's my pot of soup. Now this one actually has the rice in it. So
whoa.
let's put it like. You remember what stuffed peppers smell like? That's exactly what it smells like. Look at this.
Oh, and I see it steam and it looks beautiful. Now you're making me hungry.
And plate up a bowl of soup. And you know, being spring, we're running to the end of our soup season. So let's get those soups in, right?
Yeah, this is the last one we're having for spring, huh? We're gonna switch to salads or something lighter.
Yeah, we'll switch to salads. Let me wipe that off. Look at this, Bonnie.
I can see it steaming. It looks so good.
Look at that bowl of soup. Oh,
that's a whole meal right there.
That is a whole meal. It really is. And like I say, this one, because it has rice, is not keto, but it's still, I used whole brown rice. I cook my rice ahead. There's different kinds of rices. And I think the recipe calls for a white rice. But the white rice has sort of been milled down to where there's not a lot of nutrients in it. So I actually cooked brown rice. And when you cook brown rice, you use like 2 cups of water to 1 cup of rice. And you let it cook for about 40 minutes. So it's a little different. You get a few more nutrients out of that. But man, does that look good.
It's still everything else in there is still pretty good for you. So even if you throw a little bit of rice in there.
Sure, even if you threw
pretty
white
healthy,
rice.
A pretty healthy meal either way.
Yeah, I think white rice would give you some fiber and that type of things, you know, what it would give you. Okay, let me set this back. Okay, the only thing we got left to do, now today I did not make dessert because I figured I'd be eating some bread and we'll just take that as our dessert, right?
Okay, got it. And maybe a pimento cheese sandwich.
I think so. And I have some celery cut. So
okay, so you're going to use the celery or the bread?
I think I'll do both. It really was tasty, so I think I'll do both. So let me get a couple slices of bread and this lovely pimento cheese. And first of all, let's load up a couple pieces of celery. Oh, Bonnie, I'm glad I made that. I knew I wanted that.
As soon as you saw it. Oh, now that looks good right there.
Oh, yum.
Yeah. Now, don't forget that I'm very close today. So if you're going out.
Well, let me go ahead and spread my pimento cheese on my bread.
Now, is that nice and soft after it's been sitting there for a little bit?
It is very soft, very spreadable. See how easy it spreads?
Now, did that Monterey Jack in there make any difference? Can you taste that?
Not really. Probably not enough of it in there to really taste the difference. It's just something that I had. So let me make my sandwich. Let's cut that in half. Not that I'm not going to eat both halves.
Yes, please eat both halves.
So there's my soup. And there's my sandwich. And I think that's a wonderful lunch. Look at
That
that.
looks perfect. That is very appetizing looking. You're making me hungry.
Especially that little pimento cheese nut celery. Oh my goodness. This is just delicious.
And doesn't
Very
it sound
keto,
very
keto
healthy?
friendly.
Very keto friendly.
Mm.
It looks perfect. I'm glad you
Mm.
came across that recipe in your
I am.
magazine.
I am too.
It's a nice spring thing too, especially the pimento cheese spread is perfect for spring.
Yeah. And
Drink your water.
It's easy. You put it in a jar, you put it in your refrigerator, and you can just take a little bit for lunch every day, or a little bit of cracker. You can have an evening snack. Or celery, put it on celery.
And it's semi-healthy.
It is. It is. It's low carb. If you keep it low carb bread, it's low carb. And of course, don't forget your water.
Yep. So you're going to stay healthy, right? You're going to stay hip.
Gotta
You're
stay hip.
Stay healthy, independent, productive. That's what we're working towards every day.
Every day. That's right. Well, next week, we'll be celebrating Easter. So I'm going to do an Easter dish that I'm really not fond of, but my husband likes it. So it's for him next week, but it's ham loaf. I know a lot of people like ham loaf.
I remember when we used to have it here at the center for lunches, everybody just loved it. So it was a big thing.
Big hit. And I think I'll do some scalloped potatoes, and I'll do some roasted green beans, and maybe a surprise for dessert. But we'll make it a festival for Easter next week.
Festive for Easter. I like that. We'll look forward to that. All right.
Very good.
Thanks again. It looks wonderful. It's always fun to see you every week.
Yeah, see me eat.
Stop. Bye. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.